Hello there, everyone. All my followers of darkness, shadow scavengers, and villain aficionados. Welcome, bienvenue. Here we are, guys. The time has finally come. Here I am, your good old Lord of Shadows, talk about the one and only James Gunn Superman. I still cannot believe that the day has finally come. It's been like an hour and a half since it came out of the movie theater. Still fresh in my memory. So here I am doing my 100% spoiler free review because trust me, you don't want to get spoiled for this movie because it is an awesome and one of a kind experience. Because if that's like one of the ways I can describe this movie, a one of a kind experience. Oh man, I will tell you right here, right now, James Gunn fucking delivered. He knew the assignment, he knew the character, and he fucking delivered. Everything from the beginning all the way to the very end. Oh man, oh man, like this for me is when it comes to James Gunn, like another triumph. But anyway, let's try to go step by step, shall we? So basically, the overall summary of the movie for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, you know, the overall summary of the movie is basically you have Superman try to reconcile his Kryptonian heritage as Kal-El alongside his human life as Clark Kent in this world to try to embody himself as this symbol of truth, justice, and hope in a world where basically humanity has started to see all these elements as old-fashioned, basically. And that's kind of like the overall plot, spoiler-free style, like what this movie is all about. Usually I go with the story first, but this time I want to go with the main thing that everyone, of course, has been dying to know, and that is David Cornswell as Superman. And I will tell you this: from my entire life, for me, the two best interpretations of Superman were always Christopher Reeve's Superman and Superman from the animated series and the Justice League animated series. Those two, for me, were always the interpretations of Superman in which how I always seen Superman, how he should be, as a superhero. Now, of course, don't get me wrong. I always appreciated, the character of Superman in Superman Returns. Henry Cavill's Man of Steel. And also, the actor who portrays Superman in Superman and Lois. Like all the versions of Superman, I respected, but these two for me were always my favorite ones. And with David now, well, I have a number three. He was absolutely amazing as Superman. Every single scene he was in, I was like, that's the Superman I know. That is the Superman how I always imagine him to be. Like David Corns, with his performance. By the way, I apologize if I butchered his last name. With his performance as Superman, like I love the way how he portrayed the struggles, throughout the entire movie. Not just simply with himself, trying to adapt, on Earth, but also at the same time, this overall conflict between, his life as a Kryptonian and as a human, but also at the same time showing like, this symbol of justice and hope, and truth, and also the overall symbol of like humanity in him and everything, like if it's like trying to reason with his enemies, or like in comparison with other heroes, when he's trying to save civilians, or like during a battle, again trying to defeat an enemy where basically no one gets hurt. Like every single moment in when it comes to like David as Superman, he was great. Like I've eaten up every single scene he was in. Every single time I was like, that's the Superman I know. That is the Superman like I always known ever since I was a child. So like David, sir, you did a phenomenal job as Superman, and I cannot wait to see more of you in the future. Like you were absolutely amazing. I wouldn't go as far as say like even some people might criticize his comedic moments in this movie, but even those comedic moments for me were like for me personally were natural. And also kind of add something more to his character as well. Like not just simply being super stoic serious, like for example Henry Cavill's Superman was. Like basically James Gunn through David Collins was like Superman, like he really showed like many different elements, to his character. Try to make him, not just simply at the same time try to pay homage to different versions, but at the same time try to make this Superman, with David, their own. And they really, really did, And like I said, this Superman, like his Superman was absolutely amazing. Like I have no complaints about him whatsoever. And I will say this: it was really great to see the Red Trunks again. And his costume is really, really awesome. Like throughout the entire movie, I love this costume even more. But with Superman, I have to talk about. I have to talk about the femme fatale, Lois Lane. I mean, Rachel Brosnahan. I mean, to be fair, ever since like Christopher Reeve's Superman, from like all the movie versions, TV show versions, anime versions. Well, let's just say in live action versions. I never had a favorite Lois Lane. For me personally, all of them were fine. Like if we're talking like animated versions, my favorite Lois Lane will always the Superman the Animated Series version. That was always my favorite. But when it comes to live action, I never had a favorite one until now. Rachel Brosnahan, she did a great job as Lois Lane. The energy, the spirit, the intelligence, the cunning. Not just simply like her as a character, but also as a news reporter. The overall, like the relationship that she had with Superman. Also, sometimes the confrontations, the bravery. Like, oh man, like she did a great job as Lois Lane. Absolutely great job. And with her, now I finally got my favorite Lois Lane. She was absolutely amazing, like especially when it comes to like the moments between Superman and Lois, because like not just simply David, like I said, not just simply David's Superman, but even like Lois Lane's character, they made their relationship way more believable with their performances. Absolutely, like I really, really love Rachel Brosnahan's shit. I really loved Rachel's Lois Lane. I really did. Like she was a really nice addition to this movie. And again, she's like right now she's my favorite Lois Lane. And with that being said, let's go now with a third party. Of course, the one and only Superman's arch nemesis, Lex Luthor. Now, I will say this for Nicholas Holt: he might have screwed up on his Batman audition. He might have screwed up on his Superman audition. But he did one hell of a performance as Lex Luthor. Oh my god, this is for me. Now, personally, my favorite live action Lex Luthor was Michael Rosenbaum's character in Smallville. All the others were fine, but with the exception of Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor, but that's a different story. Like all the other Lex Luthors were fine, but I always thought Michael Rosenbaum's Lex Luthor was always my favorite. Well, he's now off that throne because now the first place takes Nicholas Holt. Like I said, he may never got the chance to play Batman or Superman, but I would love to see more and more of his Lex Luthor because so far of all the Lex Luthor interpretations, this is by far the most comic accurate version I've ever seen. Everything about his performance as Lex Luthor made it so believable. If it's like when it comes to like his intelligence, his intimidation, his like overall presence, the arrogance, the anger, the hatred and envy and jealousy towards Superman, the overall confrontation between them, the overall conviction, trying to destroy him and everything, and all the things that he had to do to get to him and everything, like. Oh man, like Nicholas Holt, he was great as Lex Luthor. Like he was absolutely amazing. And again, just like with Lois Lane and David Superman, I cannot wait to see more of him. I really cannot wait to see more of this Lex Luthor in the future of the DC universe. And even I want to add this: I really want to see this version of Lex Luthor teaming up with the Joker. But like I really wish Nicholas Holt's wish would ever come true. Like man, like this Lex Luthor, like there were so many moments in this movie that that really made me love him as a villain even more. If it's like like from like when he's like with his minions, or like when he's like on his own, or even like like when he's like trying to describe the reason why he hates Superman and everything. Like, every single scene he was in, he like, he was eating it up. Like he really embodied Lex Luthor. Like, so no complaints about him as well. Now, one of the things that a lot of people have been worrying is that Superman being overstuffed with like so many different characters. Well, I will tell you this: there's a lot of characters in this movie, but the one thing for certain I can tell you, this movie is still centered around Superman. Trust me, like every single character that popped in this movie, from the Justice Gang all the way to the other characters, like if it's like from cameos or the Planet's characters, like every single one of them had their moment to shine, had their moment to evolve and everything. Like every single one of them played their part for me. So that's why for me personally, none of them felt like either underdeveloped or pushed into the movie or overstuffed. Like every single one of them were portrayed fair and square. Now, I do have to mention the Justice Gang. Okay, like Guy Gardner, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific. Now, like for me personally, right off the bat, I would say this: like Hawk Girl, for what I've seen, I really like her character. Although I will say I would have appreciated to see more of her. But still, with everything we got, and since this is just the beginning, I really like what I've seen, and her costume was absolutely amazing. And I cannot wait to see an updates on her costume and more of her character in the future. Nathan Fillion as Guy Gardner. Oh my God, James Gunn could have not gotten a better person to play Guy Gardner. You know, like he was an asshole in the comic books, he was an asshole in this movie as well. And Nathan Fillion was brilliant. There was a lot of great moments with his character throughout the entire movie. Like my favorite one so far when it comes to Guy Gardner's character was like there's a scene with her in like with him in like the Hall of Justice, basically that, and he's like talking to Lois Lane again. I'm not gonna go into deep details like what he's talking about with her, but like that moment was like literally my favorite Guy Gardner moment. Oh man, like he was absolutely amazing, and the way how he's shown his powers as a Green Lantern in this movie was also great. I mean seriously, we haven't seen a Green Lantern in action in like a movie or TV show for a very very long time. So seeing finally a Green Lantern, even if it is Guy Gardner, was absolutely amazing. And then I'm feeling he rocked as Guy Gardner. Now, Mrs. Terrific. Now, to be fair, a lot of people said that Mr. Terrific is a scene stealer in this movie, and boy, they were right. They were absolutely right. Oh my God. Every single moment he was in, he was a badass. Everything about his character, if it's like, his action sequences to like his personality, his confrontation, like with other characters, if it's like Superman or other members of the Justice Gang, every single moment with him was absolutely amazing. Now, to be fair, I was actually when it comes to my DC Comics knowledge, I was actually more. I actually knew way more the original Mr. Terrific, unlike this one, until like I saw him in the Justice League animated series alongside the Justice Society of America comic books. Those like kind of like the days where I kind of like started to learn more about his character and everything. But this movie made me love his character even more. And again, I cannot wait to see what James Gunn and others are planning to do with him. Because like his moments in this movie were absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. Now with the Justice Gang being done, of course, I had to talk about one more character, the mascot of this movie, Krypto. Oh my God! Not just simply that Krypto was adorable, but he was also a fucking badass. Oh man, there's so many moments in which Krypto really was not simply hilarious, but a badass. There's a lot of like, I love the moments between him and Superman, and also like there's some like even moments where basically Krypto is on his own. If it's like in the Fortress of Solitude, or like or even like towards the end. Oh man, there's a scene towards the end of the movie that made me laugh but also at the same time cheering for Krypto as well. Like, oh my God, like Krypto. I'm telling you, when people go out of this movie, one of the best things that people are going to talk about is Krypto. oh my god, Crypto the Super Dog. Like he was absolutely a great addition to this movie. Now, like I'm telling you, even the ones who thought like adding Crypto was stupid, trust me, after this movie, you're gonna love the shit out of this character. And you're gonna wish for more. I can guarantee that. Like he was absolutely amazing. But besides like them, all the other characters, like I said, from Daily Planets, if it's like Jimmy Olsen or like the main CEO of like Daily Planets, to all the other characters, even like to all I do have to mention. Oh man, besides like them, I do have to mention also Metamorpho. Like the way how they use Metamorpho in this one, again, like we only seen a little bit of him, but even those moments, brief moments where he was, when it comes to like his moments in this movie, he really had moments to shine. If it's like from his struggles or with Superman or like in the final battle, like it was really great to see Metamorpho, and he looked so good in this movie. And again, I cannot wait to see more of Metamorpho in the future as well. One of the things I'm hoping is we're gonna see Metamorpho with the Outsiders. I'm really hoping we're gonna see the Outsiders in this universe. But overall, Metamorpho it was also a great addition for me personally. In this movie, the only character I would say this, the only character for me that was kind of like a little bit negative in this movie was Eve Desmacher. She for me, her is the only character I kind of found annoying throughout the entire movie. To be honest, like if I have to, like for example, if I have to make a comparison between like Christopher Reeves Eve Desmacher to this one, I prefer the original Eve Desmacher from Christopher Reeves Superman. Like I don't know, like I mean, maybe if I rewatch Superman over and over, maybe I'm gonna start to love her character even more. But for now, I felt like she was the only character in the movie that kind of thought, it was a little bit irritating. But everything else, like and oh my god, there's so many characters. Like besides the characters we heard, there are also a lot more characters that appeared in this movie. There are two cameos that appeared in this movie that, for me personally, now one of them we kind of knew about it. To be fair, but it still surprised me. But there's another one that really blew me away that I never saw it coming, about a certain character that appeared in Superman. Now, again, I'm not gonna say who, but trust me, when you see him, it's gonna blow your mind. That this character was in it. But overall, I never felt, when it comes to characters, I never felt this movie to be overstuffed. To be fair. Now, one of the things I love James Gunn is the way how he always tries to balance humor and emotions. Now, sometimes, you know, it's people usually are afraid of, when it comes to Superman, like they were afraid, if it's gonna be some, like Peacemaker or the Suicide Squad, or if it's gonna be, like Guardians of the Galaxy, like when it comes to like, especially humor, because like that's one of the stronger sides of James Gunn when he's doing his movies. But I can tell you, when it comes to emotions and laughter, like James Gunn really balanced, like serious, emotional, and comedic moments. He really did a really good balance between those two. I would go as far as say that it was a bit more like serious and emotional rather than comedic. Like there were, like when it comes to comedy, there were few bits and pieces throughout the entire movie, especially when it comes to like Crypto, and like some like Jimmy Olsen moments as well. Also some little like Superman moments alongside some like Mr. Terrific moments and Guy Gardner moments. Like there are some like some comedic moments in there, but trust me, they're not that powerful. Like they're not like Suicide Squad or Peacemaker level powerful, or even like a little bit like Guardians of the Galaxy, bonkers powerful. No, they're not like that powerful. They're just simply enough to kind of break this balance between like I said, seriousness and emotional and comedic moments. But I will tell you, the serious and emotional moments, like there's one moment in this movie towards the end that really made me cry. Like I never thought that this movie is gonna make me emotional, and it did, and it did. There were a few times that I almost cried, but the third time near the end, I really shed a few tears. Man, like like James Gunn, when he's cooking, he knows what to cook. Like man, like for me personally, the serious moments and emotional moments and the comedy moments, for me, I thought this movie had a perfect balance overall. Absolutely. Now, the other part I have to talk about is, of course, the action. The action in this movie, oh my god, it's like all over the place. Like from like the beginning to the very end, this movie is filled with action sequences. But I will say, like between those action sequences, there are a lot of different scenes, which kind of gives you a lot of moments, a lot of time, to breathe before the next one comes. So again, just like with the emotional, serious, and comedic moments, also with the action, it's really well balanced. In this movie, not just it's not like John Wick or Ballerina type of like action where it's basically all over the place. No, but when action is on scene, oh my god, they're absolutely amazing. Like for example, like the battle between Superman, the Kaiju, or the Hammer of Baravia, or when he's fighting the Engineer and Ultraman, like like like, or even like those soldiers that the Lex Luthor calls Raptors. Like, oh man, like the action sequences, especially around surrounding Superman, like they are absolutely amazing. Such a fucking delight to see it or to see on the big screen. Like absolutely amazing. Now, one of the other things I also I have to mention, of course, is the CGI. Now Superman is like one of those movies that I would call the CGI is like it's a movie that is CGI galore. And every like now there are some moments where CGI is a little bit is a little bit off, but again, very nitpicky. But the majority of the entire movie, the CGI is absolutely amazing, absolutely amazing. If it's like when it comes to powers or Superman flying or the Kaiju or like the Fortress of Solitude and everything, like or even like the super robots, like when it comes to like CGI, this movie really it's like he has this is like one of the was like one of the other uh like big victories when it comes to like this movie. Absolutely. Now, one of the other things I do have to talk about, of course, is the story. Now, now I've seen like few reviews where basically they're saying like some people are saying that the story is the kind of like the weak point. The story is like all right, or some people are saying like oh, they could have done more. Well, I will say this, to be honest with you guys, the story is a bit simple, absolutely simple. And I do agree with some people saying that it kind of feels like a Superman the Animated Series episode, or like a Justice League episode, or even like sometimes like a Superman issue story. Like it does. But even still, I always thought that even with even still like with a simple story, you can still make a great movie. And that's exactly what James Gunn's Superman is, a great movie. Even though it's a simple story, it still had heart and soul, and it really pulled you through it. It really kept you going. It really kept you interested, all the way to the very end. So for me personally, being a simple story, it works. It absolutely works. And with that, I'm going out with the final thoughts. Oh man. So overall, I adore this movie. Oh my god. And one of the other things I have to mention is the soundtrack. Oh man. Like there's so many moments in this movie that kind of goes around and around, the John Williams theme of Christopher Reeve's Superman. But they do it in such a way that when the time comes to use that tune, it's well paced, strategically and technically organized. Like when it, like basically, it's like James Gunn knew when to hit those notes. Like so, yeah, like but besides that, like there's also a lot of different like elements of the soundtrack that I that also really gave it to this movie. So yeah, the soundtrack was also overall pretty good. And with that being said, like I said, I really fucking love this movie. Like like I said, from David Cornswell as Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, all the other characters for me were also they did them justice and everything. I really liked the story. The action was great. The overall tone I liked. So overall, I really had one hell of a time with this movie, and I think personally, like this is for me a perfect start of a brand new dawn for the DC universe. With this movie, I cannot wait to see what James Gunn and Peter Safran have prepared for the future of the DC universe. Because like again, this is a great start, Absolutely a great start. And one of the other things I really love about this movie is that we find, like, the comic accurate costumes were so beautiful, absolutely beautiful. It was really great to see those comic accurate costumes, and I cannot wait to see more. So with that being said, like, again, I could have gone through, or more and more deeper, but again, it's a spoiler free review. So with that being said, my rating for this movie, and I know a lot of some people might go crazy, but it's gonna be a 9.5 out of 10. The only reason why it's not a 10 out of 10 is because maybe they could have done something a little bit more with the story. But everything else for me worked. From the portrayal of the characters, from the way how they use them, the overall action, the overall tone, the character of Superman, Lex Luthor, Lois Lane, everything about it, besides the story, for me personally worked. So I'm gonna give it a 9.5 out of 10. And with that being said, here we are done, ladies and gentlemen, all my followers of darkness. I hope you enjoyed my review. But with that being said, you guys know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe, give me your personal thoughts and ideas of what you thought. If you've seen already the Superman movie, what you thought about it? What you thought about David Cornsman's portrayal as Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane, Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor, all the other characters in the movie, the story, the action, everything about the Superman movie in general, just put in the comment section down below. And as always, Lord of Shadows signing off. Stay tuned, guys, for more. And as I always say, later, fucker.